welcome back to my channel and to my reading vlog for the Queer Lit Readathon. It's now Sunday morning, kind of late morning actually. I spent some time in bed this morning just reading and getting properly into my first book for the readathon. I actually started reading at midnight last night, and then I read a little bit before I went to sleep, and then I continued this morning. And the book that I started with was All Boys Aren't Blue by George M. Johnson. It's going pretty well so far. I'm up to page 94, and this book only has like 300 pages, so it's going pretty well. I actually didn't know that this book is written for a YA audience. So it's pretty easy to read, and also the font is pretty big, so I'm getting through this pretty quickly, which is obviously good for a readathon. And I really want to make a good start on this today, because you know, today is Sunday, it's the weekend, I have time to read. So yeah, happy with my start so far, and I'm also really enjoying this book. It's really well written. The author, this is like a memoir, and he talks about just growing up being black and queer. So far he's talked a lot about just those like very rigid standards of society when it comes to identity. Like if you're assigned, you know, being a boy at birth, you're supposed to be a certain way, and the same if you're a girl. You know, there's just not a lot of room to be anything else, and if you don't quite fit into those standards, then you know, you're on the outside. You know, you don't fit in, and this is something that I can definitely relate to. I felt that a lot growing up, and I still feel that a lot, so I could really identify with that. And you know, he also talks a lot about like growing up black. So far he's talked a lot about his school days. In the chapter I'm reading right now, he talks a lot about how when he was, you know, in some of the younger years at school, he had predominantly white teachers, so he would learn a certain version of American history, and then when he got older and he had predominantly black teachers, he would learn a very different version of American history. So yeah, it's really interesting so far. It's really good, and I'm enjoying it. So yeah, it's going really well. But yeah, it's Sunday. If you watched any of my previous reading vlogs, you will know that Sundays, I usually go hiking on Sundays, and that is what I'm about to do now. I'm going to go, not for a very long hike I think, but for a little while. I'm going to go outside, and I'm going to start listening to my audiobook for the week, which is No Strings Attached. That is a female romance, so I hope it's going to be good. I don't actually read a lot of female romances, so yeah, I'm really just hoping to enjoy this one. So yeah, I think that's the start of my reading vlog. Like I said, I've had a good start so far. I'm really enjoying what I'm reading. So yeah, hopefully this will be a good week. So I guess I'll talk to you later. So it's now later in the day, quite a bit later actually. I've been out hiking for a while. I've continued reading for a bit. I've actually also taken a little bit of a nap, not going to lie. I tend to often get very sleepy in the afternoons if I've been out doing any kind of exercising really. So like, I couldn't help myself. I fell asleep, but only for like, I don't know, half an hour or something, so it's fine. But yeah, I started my audiobook as I was out hiking earlier. No Strings Attached by Harper Bliss. I got about 2 hours into it, I think, and I discovered that, you know, I think I mentioned in my TBR video that I actually have the first 3 books in the series, and I discovered that those 3 books are kind of, it's the same file, so it looks like the audiobook is like 18 hours long, but that's all 3 books So I actually don't know how long this audiobook is. I'm going to assume, you know, that I can divide it in 3 and say that it's about 6 hours long, which sounds about right because romances tend to be pretty short, but I actually don't know. So I guess I'll just have to listen to it until I'm done and then see how long it's taken me. But yeah, about 2 hours in so far. I'm not quite sure how I feel about it. Like, it's fine, it's enjoyable enough, it's fairly well written. I'm just, I guess I'm not quite sure how I feel about our main character. Like, she comes across as quite, I don't know, naive. I don't know if that's quite the right word, but so she used to be a stay-at-home mom. She used to be married to a man, and she now has 2 teenagers. And she and her kids just recently, you know, moved out and is now staying somewhere else. And she has her kids like 50% of the time. And in the neighborhood where she now lives, there is this coffee shop where she used to go with her best friend. And at the start of this book, she takes a job at this coffee shop. And she's not doing it because she needs money or anything like that. She does it because she's bored. And this job, it kind of just, like, it just falls in her lap. I don't know how it is anywhere else, but I'm used to, like, you know, if there's a job opening, you have to send in an application, and there are maybe interviews or something. You're never just handed a job like that. So I don't know, it just, there's a lot of like little things that makes it a little bit difficult to feel sympathetic towards her. And also the fact that she doesn't really have that much of a personality, I guess, also doesn't really help. So yeah, I'm not sure how I feel about her really. What I do like is that our main character, she is in her mid-40s. And I feel like a lot of characters, or a lot of main characters in romances, are usually a lot younger, maybe in their 20s. So that's quite refreshing. So I like that. So yeah, I have some issues with it so far, but like I said, it's enjoyable enough, so it shouldn't be a problem for me to finish it. And hopefully I'll feel a little bit differently about it once I've read the whole thing. So yeah, there's that book. I've also read a little bit more of All Boys Aren't Blue. I'm almost halfway through. I'm up to page, let's see, I'm up to page 144. And I think I mentioned earlier today that this book is about 300 pages, which means I'm almost halfway through. I had kind of a goal for today to get at least halfway through this book, because today is Sunday, I don't have work, and for the next 5 days I will have work, so obviously I'm going to have less time to read. So I really wanted to get a good start, hopefully get at least halfway through this, and if I can, even longer, because I have 2 other books, physical books, that I'm going to read this week, and yeah, one of them is a graphic novel. Shouldn't take me too long, but still, I just want to make sure that I'll be able to read all the books that I want to read. So yeah, I'm almost at my goal at halfway through, and I will read a little bit more today as well, I think, even though right now I'm actually about to take a break. I need a little bit of a reading break, so I'm going to edit a video. I need to edit my May wrap up, which is still not up. So yeah, I'm going to go and do that now, and then probably read a little bit more later today. So yeah, that's my update. So it's now Monday. I finished work a little while ago, and then I read outside for a little bit. I'm still reading All Boys Aren't Blue. I'm now up to page 213, so like I have less than 100 pages left. So now I'm kind of wondering, like, could I finish this book today? I mean, I might, or I could maybe almost finish it. If I did, that would kind of be ahead of schedule. Like, I don't know about you, but I kind of have a schedule in my head when I do like readathons and stuff. At least if I have a goal that I want to complete. And this week I want to read 3 physical books. One of them is a graphic novel. So I was kind of thinking that I shouldn't spend more than 3 days on this book. So if I finish it today, or almost finish it today, in 2 days, that will be ahead of schedule, and that makes me feel a lot more optimistic for the rest of the readathon, and you know, if I could complete everything that I want to read. So and this book is just turning out to be the perfect book to read for a readathon. It's very engaging, it's very easy to read, and it's the kind of book that you just want to keep reading. Like, I don't really need too many breaks from this. Some of the stuff that he writes about is pretty like rough to read, but like yeah, I really enjoy reading this book. So yeah, right now I'm pretty optimistic. I also realized that I didn't really talk about like what prompts I'm reading these books for. I mean, if you didn't see my TBR, you don't really know. I'll try and like put the bingo board up here. Let me just move a little bit so I can put the bingo board up here. The All Boys Aren't Blue, that book I'm reading for the memoir prompts, and I'm also reading it for 40% BIPOC, which basically means that at least 40% of my TBR needs to be by BIPOC authors. If I read everything that I hope to read this week, then I will complete that prompt. And then I mentioned yesterday that I started No Strings Attached by Harper Bliss. That book is not really for a prompt that's part of the bingo. I just picked it because I need an audiobook, basically. But I know it will fulfill the prompt not set on my continent, so I'm at least reading it for that, and possibly a few other prompts as well, if it turns out that it completes any of the other prompts. So yeah, and then I have 2 more books that I will hopefully get to later this week. But yeah, that's where I'm at right now. Feeling optimistic, feeling positive, enjoying this book very much. So yeah, happy Monday. So it's now Tuesday. It's the late afternoon, I guess. I've just been on a afternoon hike after work. And now I'm basically just waiting for my dinner to get warm. Having some leftovers. So I figured while I was waiting for that, I might as well give you a little bit of an update, because I was actually able to finish All Boys Aren't Blue. Yesterday I finished it kind of late, right before I went to sleep. It's not super common for me to finish a 300-page book in 2 days. Especially with one of those days being a work day. But I guess that says a lot about the book. Not just that it was very easy to read, it definitely was, but I was also very into it. The author basically, he tells his story from when he's a kid up until he's about, I would say, probably in his mid-20s, around the time that he finishes college. And he talks about some very personal things in here, some things that I can't imagine have been very easy to write about. And he covers a lot, like there's the good and the bad, and there's the happy and there's the sad, and he talks a lot about his family, in particular his grandmother, who just seems like an incredible woman. He's also very clear about who he's writing this book for, which is basically people, in particular young people, who's in the same situation as himself. I mentioned this book is very much about him being black and queer. That's like the main focus of this book. And he grew up with not having a lot of representation anywhere. So he's basically just talking about how he hopes that this book can be that kind of book that he was missing when he grew up. So I hope that those people find this book and read it, because yeah, it was really good. I really, really liked it. So very happy to have read this. I've also continued listening to my audiobook, No Strings Attached. I'm not really feeling it, to be honest. I'm still not really liking the main character. I just, like I mentioned, I think that she is in her mid-40s, and I think I also said that I really like that we have a character who is not like in her 20s. I just wish that she'd come across as she was in her mid-40s and not like a teenager, because there's something about this that just feels very immature. And I also had to check when this was written, because it kind of felt like it might have been written like a while ago, like 10 plus years ago, just something about how the story is written. But it was published in 2016, I think it was, so it's not that old. But yeah, I'm just not super into it. I'm also not like really feeling the romance. So that's another thing. But I mean, it's fine, but it's just not quite what I hoped for, I guess. I'm about 4 hours into the audiobook now. Like I said, I have no idea how long it is, but I'm assuming maybe around 6, so I would guess that I'm over halfway through it. But yeah, we'll see. Hopefully it picks up a little bit at the end. I'm not like hating it, but it's just not like the best thing I've ever read, so. But yeah, now I'm about, like I said, I'm about to have dinner very soon, and then I'm about to sit down and read some Heartstopper, which I am super excited about. I think I'm just gonna start Heartstopper today, and then probably also start The Summer of Everything. Maybe a little bit later today. Yeah, I'm super excited about both these books, so yeah. It's now Wednesday, so I figured I'll give you a little bit of a reading update, but before I do that, I just wanted to quickly correct myself a little bit, because Nat from Nerdy Nat Reads, she informed me that George M. Johnson, the author of All Boys Aren't Blue, actually uses they, them pronouns, which I honestly didn't think to check, because there's this author thing, like author bio in the book, and he was being used there, so I just assumed that that was the correct pronoun, and like I should have checked further probably, but I didn't think to do that. So thank you, Nat, for letting me know that. I do like to get these things right, so yeah. Anyway, as for the books I'm reading right now, I'm about halfway into Heartstopper Volume 1. I'm just enjoying this reread so much. This book just makes me so happy, and it's just really, really cute. It's not taking me long to read at all. I'm almost kind of like dragging it out, because I just want to enjoy this for as long as possible. So yeah, I have a little more than half of this book left. As for The Summer of Everything, I've also started this one, and I'm about 65 pages into it. I'm really, really enjoying this one so far as well. I really like the main character, Wes. He's just finished high school, so this is the summer before he starts college, and he's just like trying to figure out what to do with his life, because he feels like everyone else has things figured out and he doesn't. And he's working in this bookstore called Once Upon a Page, and he just loves working there. Like, this bookstore is basically his life. Like, it's being there is like his favorite thing. And it sounds like a really cool place as well. Like, a bunch of his friends works there as well. I assume they probably met while working in the bookstore. But yeah, it just sounds like a really fun place. And he is crushing hard on his best friend Nico, and he's really just trying to figure out like how to tell Nico about his feelings. So yeah, I'm really liking this so far. This one also isn't super long. It's just under 300 pages. I think it's going to take me a little bit longer to read this one compared to All Boys Aren't Blue, because the font is a little smaller in this. But I don't think I should have a problem finishing it, because I'm really enjoying it. So. Yeah, that was my update for now. So I'm going to sit down and read. So this book actually has an Arrow Ace character, and just seeing that made me so excited. And it's actually like on page as well that this character is Arrow Ace. I feel like a lot of the time, if we're seeing like ace characters in books, or at least a lot of the books that I've read that has that representation, it's more implied than actually like stated. And in this book, like, it's actually on page, and just seeing that word in the book made me so excited and happy. And also the fact that, like, I thought about it, and like when I've read or encountered ace characters in books, it's mainly been female characters, and in this book it's actually a guy, so that was really cool too. So yeah, when I read that yesterday, I just got so excited, because I feel like we're seeing ace representation in books more these days, but it's still not like an everyday thing. So when it happens, and at least in this case when it was so unexpected, like I didn't know, then it just made me all the more excited. So yeah, and this book just in general just has a ton of representation, and that's just really cool to see. So yeah, it's Thursday now. I just finished work, so I'm actually I'm about to sit down and read some more. I wasn't able to read that much yesterday. I just had a lot of other things to do, but I'm about halfway through this book now. And I haven't read any more of Heartstopper, but I plan to continue today. So yeah, just wanted to share because this representation just made me very happy. So it's Friday, and I finished another book today. I finished No Strings Attached by Harper Bliss while I was out on my afternoon hike today. I was right, that audiobook was pretty much exactly 6 hours long, so my sort of prediction was correct. I don't really have much to say about this one aside from the things I've already mentioned. It was fine, I guess. I never really got into it. I never really felt it. And I find with romances, like, a lot of the time either they work for me or they just don't. And when they don't work for me, they can sometimes feel very cheesy and kind of simple, which is kind of what this one felt like. And like, I can't really put my finger on exactly why I felt that way about it, aside from the things that I've already mentioned. Maybe it was just lacking some depth or something. Like, it just felt very straightforward, like just nothing special at all. But it's another book finished for the readathon, which means I've now finished 2 books, and I'm very close, or pretty close, to finishing the last 2 books that I have on my TBR for the week. I'm actually going to sit down and finish Heartstopper now. I don't have much left at all. And then, like I mentioned, it's Friday. The last day of the readathon is tomorrow, so, and I think I have less than 100 pages left of the summer everything as well. So I'm pretty confident right now. I think I can finish my TBR. So yeah, happy weekend. So it's Saturday. It's the final day of the readathon, and I have completed my entire TBR, and I am so happy about it. So this morning I finished up my final book, which was The Summer of Everything by Julian Winters. I have it right here. Here it is. This was wonderful. I already mentioned that it has just a ton of representation, which was awesome. Our main character Wes, he is very he's a bit of a mess. Like, he's all over the place, but like, I like that in a character because it makes them feel more real. The atmosphere in here was amazing. Like, this takes place in Santa Monica, California. I've never been there. I've never been close to being there, but I felt like I was there. The author did such a good job with just setting the atmosphere and making me feel like I was there, and yeah, that was wonderful. It definitely fits for the summer vibes prompt. Like this gave me all the summer vibes. It was perfect for that prompt. So I would highly recommend reading this during summer if you are planning to read this. So yeah, just ended up really enjoying this book. The ending was kind of bittersweet. I liked it overall though. But yeah, it definitely brought out some different emotions. Yeah, but very good book. I just finished it this morning, like I mentioned, so I need to sit on my rating for a bit, but it was really good. I really liked it, so there's that one. And then yesterday I finished Heartstopper, Volume 1. I don't really need to talk much about this book. You probably all know that I love it by now, so obviously 5 stars again. I just love this series so much. Definitely one of my favorite series, and my favorite graphic novel series for sure. So yeah, really enjoyed reading this one again, and I definitely need to read Volume 2 soon. So yeah. But yeah, that wraps up this readathon. Let me just quickly go through the bingo board. Let me just put it up on the side here, and we can go through the books that I read and which prompts I think they could count for. So if we start with All Boys Aren't Blue, I primarily read that one for the memoir prompt. It could also fit for intersectional, and I think it could also probably fit for rect. This book, like, it's not been recommended directly to me, but I wouldn't even have picked it up if I hadn't heard about it on BookTube primarily, and it was always talked about in a positive way, so I count that as a recommendation. So I think it could work for that one as well. And then we have, oh yeah, and it could also work for not set on your continent, but that goes for most of these books. So and then we have No Strings Attached. I think I already mentioned that I knew it would work for not set on your continent because it's set in Australia. And I looked at the bingo board, and I actually don't think it would fit for anything else. But yeah, it works for that one prompt. And then we have Heartstopper, which I primarily read for Brings You Joy. This one I think could also count for shorter than a novel. It is a graphic novel, and like it's kind of long for a graphic novel, but it's like super quick to read because it's so little text. So I'm not sure if that's maybe cheating a little bit, but I think it could work for that. And then finally we have The Summer of Everything, and I primarily read that one for summer vibes. But I think it could also work for M-Spec, because there are a couple of characters in here who identify as bisexual or pansexual. And this one I think I could also choose for the underrepresented identity for the Arrow Ace rap. Like, it was not the main character who was the character who identified as Arrow Ace in here, but he was a side character that was definitely very involved in the story. He was like part of the friendship group of our main character, so I think it could count for that one. And this one could also fit for the Not Set on Your Continent prompt. It could also fit for the Rect prompt. And because I completed both this book and All Boys Aren't Blue, I also completed the 40% plus BIPOC prompt, which was my plan. So yeah. So to sum up, I completed the bingo that I set out to complete, but looking at this, and if I count like all the prompts I mentioned now, I think I actually completed a couple of other bingos as well. I can probably put up or mark out the bingos that I feel like I probably completed on here. So overall, super happy with this week and this readathon. I had so much fun. I read such amazing books, maybe with one exception. And just like, I've read quite a lot this week, but I've just felt really chilled. I haven't felt stressed or like overwhelmed or anything like that. I'm going out of this readathon just feeling very like happy and motivated to continue reading amazing books. So yeah, I would say this has been a wonderful experience this week. So yeah, had so much fun taking part in this readathon again. I don't think it will be my last time. So But yeah, that's going to be it for this vlog. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you soon with another video. Bye.